feel like I came to the studio today in a DeLorean and hit 88 miles per hour because we had a little bit of a blast in the past today with some new players all mixed in to potentially our weakest group of the up and downs, but for that reason, these players are so close to the skill level, I feel like it's kind of anyone's game, anyone's Codes spots to take.
And it's still a very exciting group. We have a lot of high potential players in here. Box is in the studio and he said that Fantasy is in really good shape. And you know, with Fantasy especially, he's a player that played against Roro already in Code, and he slacked a lot with his macro, but since then he played in Pro League, he played a lot of games, and he has been improving so much, especially in his macro. His micro was already back then really incredible, and according to Boxer, his play these days is really fantastic. So a lot of good players here today. Of course, we have also the Foreign Hope, we have Huck here, and the group itself is just going to be really interesting because it's anyone's place to take.
Yeah, it's true, and don't forget we have NesTea in this group as well.
Yeah.
Someone who has an award named after him. He's got so many GSL championships. Last time we saw him play, he looked like he was in pretty good shape, and I'm expecting good things from him today.
He's hungry. Last time when he dropped out of Code A and down in Code B, I actually thought for a second, okay, well, can he really do it? Is he now trying to maybe become a coach or whatever? Will we really see him back as a player? And he made it all the way. Now he's in the up and downs, and he really wants this win. He's hungry to get back into Code S, and he's been training quite a lot. The LGIM coach mentioned yesterday that he really hopes that NesTea is going through and that NesTea trained a lot. So we are going to find out if he's able to pull it off. And he's actually playing now our first game today.
Yeah, he's playing up against Finale, someone who I always like to look out
Center,
for.
actually. I think Finale just joined the lobby and didn't really... Yeah, they invited the wrong player.
Okay, I thought that was wrong as well, but...
NesTea is up against Center.
Yeah, Center, the newly teamless TSL Terran player. I read an article about him on one of those Korean websites. A lot of people talking about this guy, you know, wondering where he's going to go. Is he going to join a new team very soon? I think he probably will get picked up, but on the other hand, he hasn't shown as much potential as our other TSL players that have played this week, but he made it here to the up and downs.
He was in Code A for the first time, and he went all the way to the third round, where he then lost against Parting with a 2-0. The Protoss player was able to take the best of 3 series, so Santa finds himself now in the up and downs. But he's an up-and-coming player. The TSL coaches have mentioned it over and over again, that he's really strong, that he's getting better, and that he's one of the strongest players now. That one of the strongest players they have in the team, but one of the players that is improving the most and the fastest. He was here earlier, said hi, and he's in high spirits. I asked the coach and also Santa as well if he's nervous. He's not nervous at all. He's just going to play his best. He knows that he's the most unexperienced player in the entire group, but he's not afraid of anyone.
Yeah, he's not afraid of anyone. I mean, considering the players he got through to get to the up and downs in the first place, and then losing only to Parting, who did extremely well all towards the end of last year. It's no secret that he didn't have an easy time, and he's definitely got a lot of potential here in this group. Let's take a look at yesterday's results so you guys can get refreshed on what went down.
Here we go. We had Bjorn taking the third spot for the wildcard. Bial and Bomber advanced to Code S. SS, Genius, and Liquid Hero, those 3 were not able to make it. The 3 Protoss players now in Code A.
Yep. Now, there's one more wildcard spot left in tonight's group, so keep that in mind. It seemed like we were going to have a all-Zerg group, but so far 3 Zergs and 1 Terran. Now here are the current standings for Code S. You can see the race distribution, 12, 4, and 12. And it's impossible for 8 more Pross to get in. Sorry to burst Pross fans' bubbles.
Yeah. Again, we might have 2 more Protoss players, and then of course 2 more in the wildcard group. No, that's actually not true. We don't have a Protoss just in there just yet.
Yeah, only 2 more possible. So, at the very least, Pross will make up half of the distribution. Here are today's players.
Yeah. NesTea, Center, Fantasy, Finale, Flying, and Huck. A great group. If you look at these names and you think about the past accomplishments, the accomplishments in the last 12 months, then yes, it's the weakest group of all, but on the other hand, these players are so close to each other. There are a lot of players that have been doing really well in their first appearance in Code A, meaning Center, of course. Then we have Huck. He has been around for ages in StarCraft 2, also in Boot War. NesTea, the creator of the universe. So this is going to be really exciting. And look at Santa here to the right. He is happy, and he is up against one of the most accomplished players in StarCraft 2 in Korea.
It's time to get things started here. Center looks very happy. Of course, NesTea and Legend having some sort of argument in the chat. I didn't get to read it because it scrolled so fast, but I think that's what Center was laughing about. NesTea looks like he is ready to get out of this group, though. Looks extremely serious, much more focused. You know, just the look of determination on his face. Whereas, like you said, Center looks absolutely unnervous. It's not a word, but I just created it, and he is ready to go.
He's ready to go, and so are we. Our first map today is going to be Cloud Kingdom for Terran versus Zerg, LGIM versus XTSL. Center still wearing the tag and the hoodie, but TSL is standard in case that you guys didn't catch the news just yet. Here's Senta coming up against NesTea at the GSL up and downs. We are in our last group. Tomorrow is the wildcard group. When it comes to the group itself, this is the last one of them. It is Group E.
Map is frozen in load time here, so I wonder if we're going to have a moment of reboot. We'll find out.
Both of them are just waiting for the match to start, as are we today in our first game. And the game is live, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready for the GSL up and downs. It is NesTea versus Senna, brought to you by Carl and Wolf. Starting to the bottom left of the map, we have our Zerg player for Team LGIM, the creator of the universe. Here's
LGIM NesTea.
NesTea! Rocking a new haircut, actually. I don't know if anyone caught that. A little bit shorter.
I didn't.
Well, his hand's a little bit cold. His opponent wearing that TSL tag and the hoodie for one last time. He is
TSL Center.
always kind of in the shadow of his former teammate Polt, who was the top Terran on the team.
Senta with his first Code A appearance last season. In the first round, he took out a Seed, which was something that surprised quite a lot of people. He made sure that Seed is now in Code B. Then he moved on to take down Byan. So two very strong opponents that he faced in the first two rounds, and he won against both of them. But then he had to face Parting, and Parting was the final stop for Senta in his Code A run. Now he's in the up and downs, and he's out for blood. He wants to get into Code S. He might be able to pull it off, but he's up against a very, very strong opponent. And talking about NesTea and his recent matches, NesTea in this matchup had to play a Terran player in his last round of Code A against Byung. And Byung, being a good Casper player, a really strong Terran, not able to get out of the up and downs, by the way, was able to defeat NesTea with a 2-1. It was a very, very close series, but now NesTea finds himself in the same matchup. Can Senta stop the creator of the universe, or will NesTea take the first win today?
That's a good question, and NesTea stylistically is pretty unique. He has a very Muta-heavy style. Talked about this a lot in the past, but I wonder if he's going to go for Infest in this game. Showing his previous history, if you guys looked it up, if you've watched his games, you're probably pretty familiar with the fact that he loves to go heavy Mutas, even into the mid and late game, just massive amounts of Mutas, especially if he gets an early lead. Does not really like to make very many Infestors. Sometimes that could be his downfall. The reason why I end up losing against Byung, in fact, is because he took some poor engagements in the late game.
And the one thing about NesTea is, if you disregard his loss against Byung in the third round of Code A and you just go down his match list, you will see that NesTea really excels in this matchup these days. He had a 2-0 victory over Thorzane in the Iron Squid tournament. He took down Hart in the second round of Code A. He was able to defeat Horang at the GSL Season 5 preliminaries in the final. Won against MVP at the World Esports Masters. So it was quite a while since he dropped a match against the Terran, except for the last game that he played in Code A.
And actually continues to maintain an over 50% win ratio in the matchup in general, which is pretty impressive considering that, you know, he's not winning every championship anymore. He's kind of fallen off a little bit, even fell down to Code B for a brief moment. Center just getting a good scout here. He sees no gas. In fact, actually, he saw the gas, but NesTea mined an interesting amount of it. He's only mined 52, not enough for speed. So this is actually pretty tricky because this is now Center making him think, okay, making Center think maybe he's just getting speed to be safe. Maybe he's actually going for an attack. I have to be careful. I can't use my Hellions as long as I might want to.
He doesn't get the gas here for the speed, you're so right. Instead, he goes for the extra queens. It's now the second extractor. And the thing about NesTea is, as we already pointed out, we would expect Mutas for him here. In case that you're a little bit newer to the GSL, the NesTea was known to play Mutalist on Cloud Kingdom, even though every other Zerg player would go into Infestors right away. And we had the chance to talk to him and asked him, why exactly do you go Mutalists? Why do you refuse to go Infestors? And he just starts laughing and is like, well, 9 out of 10 games when I practice infestors on this game, on this map. But every single time I'm sitting in the booth, in the GSL, my hands automatically go to the Mutalisk play. This is what he's comfortable with, this is what he's good at, and he can use his Mutalisk like a surge and the scalpel. He's really strong with them, he has a great micro, and he's able to pressure a Terran player so much.
So far, he actually starts a third hatch. It was looking like he might go super fast 2-hatch mutas, but it's not going to be the case. The speed's a little bit late, but as you said, he got those extra queens out with the full alpha of the drones. 4 queens out in total. And I think we will see a lair from him fairly soon. He's going to be facing center going for Cloak Banshee. His center already up to nearly 400 gas. Starts his Banshee. Interestingly enough, needs to... There he goes. Finally gets started. I think starting Cloak first might have been the better choice in this case, but he will get both out.
With the timing that we have for NesTea, he should be fine here. The double evolution chamber will definitely help him to get the Spore Crawlers out in time. We have him with the Baneling Nest now as well. He's starting his creep spread, so both players just laying the groundwork here, trying to prepare for this game. We have Queens now moving towards the third base, wanting of course to take down those creep tumors as fast as possible, to put them down so that he can spread the creep from the third, not only from his natural. And the Hellions a little bit reluctant to engage here, and that's definitely the better choice. He waits until he has more of them. He's going up to 6 at least. And this is already a composition where NesTea has to be careful that they don't sneak into the base.
Yes, he's got to be very careful about that. Center actually could go in, he just doesn't know it. Something that's really interesting, by the way, is he never started Cloak. He must have forgotten it. He has 550 gas, and there's no reason for that. He doesn't even start Stim. There he goes with the Stem, and he's going to start Siege mode probably as soon as he can with that factory going over. He'll also dump the gas to the double evolution or double E-base. But the thing is, double evolution chamber, speaking of which, for NesTea have been going for quite some time. He's already halfway done with both of his upgrades.
And the double engineering bay isn't done yet. He can't use this extra gas that he has to go into the upgrades. Senna, of course, it is. But he's using his Banshee to take down a few of the Harvesters. Gets a shot of Acid Queen too, and now we have it already at 4 kills, getting another drone. There we are, 5. Now he has to retreat, doesn't lose the Banshee.
Cool attack pattern. A lot of Terran players like to go for the third base first because it's the shortest path, but Center expected the Queens to be there spreading creep and also to be a little bit further away from the natural, so I like his choice to go only to the natural. He only has 1 Banshee.
And the Viking is now being built for Senna, a choice that a lot of Terran players started to make a few months ago because now they try to get rid of the overlords on the map and supply it with their opponent. The Queen is a little bit lonely on the map here, and it's just surviving because of all these Banelings that suddenly run towards the Hellions.
Yep, the Hellions just continue to assert their presence, not really going to be able to commit to anything.
Yeah. And surprise, surprise, NesTea with a spy attack here.
Yeah. And this is something that Center is going to want to find out about as soon as possible. He doesn't have any scouting information of that. But the Viking already goes to work. Several Overlords already killed here. NesTea supply block temporarily. And the Hellions want to check for a 4th base. I love that Center's being so present with these, but never overextending himself. Just always getting only the information that he needs. Never trying to go for a run-by. Never trying to get too greedy with chasing down some Lings.
Both players just heading towards the late game scenario here. They don't want to be too overly aggressive. Senna had a chance to move in with the Hellions, didn't take it. Was like, okay, I'm not feeling it right now. I don't want to overcommit with the Hellions. If I lose them, then I lose my momentum on the map. I lose the grasp on the map. I don't have map control anymore. So NesTea now, with those Mutalists, has a chance of doing a bit of damage. And Senna has to identify that there is actually a Spire being built by his opponent. He needs a few missile turrets, and he also needs a good position with those Marines. With the armory that he's now getting, he has the chance of producing a Thor or 2 to deal with the Mutalist. Doesn't necessarily have to, it all depends on how many Mutalists NesTea actually builds.
Yeah, I think that once he sees the first wave of Mutalists, depending on how well he does against that, he's going to try to get as much information about is NesTea making more than 8, because usually most Zerg players will make up to 8 in the early game just to shut down drops and do a little bit of harassment, but NesTea has been known to make a lot more.
You can see that NesTea is not completely committing to Mutalists, at least not trying to hit a fast timing with a lot of them, because he's going into +2/+2 for his ground units first. This is a lot of gas that he invests. He could have built 4 additional Mutalisks early on, but he gets the upgrades before he goes into additional air units.
Yeah. The upgrades are super behind for Center here. You can see that he's going to be down on upgrades again for a really long time. And NesTea spots this army. His creep spread's getting pretty strong.
What he doesn't spot is this drop, because the Viking was taking down the Overlords, so the vision for NesTea is really limited. And now the drop ship comes into the main base. This could do a lot of damage. Could take out the pool. Could take down a few of the drones, and the army is out of position. NesTea has to be careful here.
Yeah, NesTea sends his units back immediately, and it looks like Center is just going to go for Queens. Takes out one and will get the second one. Now he can try to target down Muta as well. He picks up instead. Unfortunately for him, that's not going to be the right choice. He's going to lose everything here, not a single Muta killed. But getting those Queens makes it a decent drop. It was not completely shut down. And again, like you said, that's because of that Viking that we saw earlier.
Center in total killed 8 Harvesters, which we just saw on screen. So also a good job here trying to keep the drone count low. But NesTea is now in this position where a Zerg player who goes for Ling Bane Ling Muta has the dominant position on the map. So we have him with a huge army. He's already at 170 supply. And Senna knows it. He tries to set up his defense. He tries to set up all these tanks. He has 5 in total already. And NesTea has to be careful how he approaches this. He's still trying to have a quick look with the Mutalisk, what's going on, how Senna positions his units. But NesTea can't really engage too much. Or if he does, he needs to make sure that he takes out the tanks as fast as possible.
Yeah, the siege tank count is already at 5 with a 6th one on the way. He's also going to have +1 for siege tanks, and 2-2 will be finished before NesTea can really attack. That same Banshee from earlier starting to rack up the kills, and we see a Hellion run by. He's just trying to keep NesTea off of his back, and so far it's working. NesTea turns his entire army around for 1 Banshee and 5 Hellions, so Xanaros going to be really happy with the results of this. Now the Infestation's been finished, but don't be fooled. NesTea's not going to make any of those. He just starts his Hive Tech instead. And this is going to allow him to get 3-3, and of course later on that Greater Spire or the Ultras Cavern. We've seen NesTea go a lot of Ultras.
Senna was able to kill 5 additional drones with his last attempt to damage the economy of NesTea. The Banshee died, so did those Hellions, which is of course always a little bit unfortunate because he can't pressure the Zerg player later on. But now we have this defense set up for Senna. He has his sensor tower, he also has a bit of a wall with those supply depots at the front, the bunker in the back, and also the sieged up tanks. So a good position on 3 bases, but NesTea has the map control, taking this 4th base, taking a 5th base, already setting up his units to start a run by, and here we go, the Banelings on the move.
Oh, wow, this is so many Banelings coming to the left side, and Center's out of position. And you know what, NesTea has enough Banelings to defend this attack, I feel, as well, so...
Here goes the 3rd base, he lifted him, Banelings moving in!
These are those Banelings I was talking about, and Center's on creep, but
NesTea with the right
He must have had them on the same rally, yeah, that was...
Oh wow, this was
what
horrible.
he needed to defend his base, but now he's not going to have it.
This was really bad for NesTea. He loses all the Banelings without doing any damage
But here the next wave comes, and I guess it's okay!
The second wave rolls in, and the Terran player eats them all.
I think NesTea might have had at least 50 plus 20 Banelings in this engagement.
Yeah, the first wave was a little bit awkward. There was definitely a right click and not intended. He didn't go with an aim move or a right click into the Marines. He lost all of them. But NesTea is now in a very good spot. He took out the army of his opponent. He nice mining at the 3rd, has a 5th on his own.
+2 is getting ever so close to finishing for Center, but is that really going to be enough with his reduced siege tank count now down to 3 against the amount of Banelings that NesTea has shown already the proclivity to make? He already has on the map 20 with 92 links. Probably just make a ton more here and go for the attack. The Ultralisk Cavern is the follow-up with a 5th base, mind you. So NesTea, by the way, is doing something really weird. He's getting pathogen glands. We might see an Infestor or 2.
Yeah, we might see an Infestor too, and he's going into 14 drones. He's getting actually a lot of Harvesters here. He's already at 92, and with an additional 14, that makes 106. So this is getting a bit out of hand. If he commits too much, nice drops here into the Banelings.
Yeah, making at least one of those Marines worth it. And look at this little run by. This is kind of annoying.
I mean, right now, NesTea knows he dominates the game. He knows that he just took out the army of his opponent, that Center has a problem getting his economy up because his 3rd base was once again lifted. So he can have all these drones, get a huge bank, but he needs to make sure that he builds Spine Crawlers and Spore Crawlers. He's already getting few, but he needs to get rid of those drones later on. He needs to go down to, let's say, 80, maybe even 70, 75, so that he can get more army supply. And he has the economy to pull it off. You have Spine Crawlers and Spore Crawlers, exactly what you need to do, but still 101 drones for him. A very good economy, but maybe a bit too much.
Yeah, ends up 101 Dalmatians ended up being a good Disney movie, but I have to say NesTea needs to definitely make a lot more spines here if he wants to be able to hold these pushes. He goes for another one of these attacks. And Center, again, out of position. NesTea knows exactly where to go, and he sees the units on his creep. He goes for the counterattacks. Those SCVs are forced off the line. He doesn't have a ton of defense here, though. He lost his Spine Crawlers already, and the rest of his Banelings are totally out of position. He's not only going to lose this base, but if Center wants it, he can take out the 3rd as well. He needs to go in there.
Center has more army supply, and this is because he has a lot less Harvesters than NesTea. NesTea with a huge bank, 3,000 minerals, 1,000 gas. Can he pull this off? NesTea is moving in right now, trying to kill this force. He has still a lot of lava available to Remax. He doesn't even have to because he's crushing everything that Senna has on the ground. Still a 50 supply lead for Senna, and Senna can't even drop the units in those medivacs. Tries to run away, but the Muralists are giving chase and taking down medivac after medivac.
Yeah, he's losing so much here. I feel running away might have even been a better choice there to try to rejoin his units with the other army. Finally, he does rejoin them, but still no 4th base for Center. He has the 4th command center, but NesTea maxed out with 11 Ultralisks coming out. That'll put him up to a total of 14, and his drone count is back to a fairly normal number, down to 85 here, so his army supply is looking pretty healthy.
Senna taking down this 4th base of NesTea kind of did him a favor here. Suddenly the Zerg player has a lot more army supply. He's up to 150 now, still has this bank available that he can use to crush Senna, and Senna is just trying to find an opening here. For him it's really difficult. He needs to secure himself this 3rd base, which is getting more and more difficult during the course of the game. But that's not all. At this point, he desperately needs to get a 4th.
Yeah.
NesTea is even getting another 2 bases at the bottom right now.
Exactly, 5th and 6th bases with more Spine Crawlers going down 5 this time. That would have bought him a little bit more time last time. Now Center goes for a big push. This is actually his bank revealed. He is up to 179 supply, but he doesn't have a bank after this. If he loses this army, NesTea should be able to easily take the game, but so far the engagement pretty good for Center. He has to use a lot of scans to move forward. He needs to be very careful here. NesTea with 14 Ultras, if he gets to the right angle, can crush this army, and here he goes.
Orders for Center. He has only Marines and Siege Tanks, and here comes NesTea, the creator of the universe. The Zerg Swarm is on the move, taking down tank after tank. The Marines are doing their best. They don't have the upgrades, they don't have Marauder support. Marines alone just don't cut it against Ultralisks.
This is true, man. I think this may be the end of Center. Like you said, no Marauders, and he will hold against these Ultras by themselves, but
I'm not quite sure, but even if he does, the transition is already on its way. We have Corruptors now for the Broodlords, but he doesn't even need them. GG. Game 1 today goes to NesTea. Well done, Center here with a loss in his first game. Up against a strong opponent in Game 1.
He showed some weaknesses in that game, but overall he really just outplayed Center and got early leads, and his map control with not only his creep but his Beetleless. He showed what he's known for, and he came through.
Yeah, he took the first game today. A lot of people want NesTea to come out of this group, to get into Codes in the last season of Wings of Liberty here at the GSL. And he might just pull it off. Things are looking good for him after game number 1. Center, of course, not out just yet after the first game. And we are going to jump into the second game in just a few seconds. Huck is going to play game number 3 later on. In the second game, we have Finale and Fantasy.
It's the battle of the Fs.
Yep.
It just seems like we keep having these similar letters.
We have 3 of them today.
Yeah, it's very true. And I wonder who's going to come out ahead here, because I feel like Fantasy is on the rise. That's something we've talked about already. We talked to Boxer about this. He seemed pretty good. He missed maybe a few depots in some of his earlier matches, but at the same time, his decision-making and his micro is really good. And Finale, on the other hand, is somebody who's like the build order master. You got to watch out for him because he's going to prepare the best build for the map, generally speaking.
Well, the players are getting ready here. Both of them are now in the lobby, and we are good to go with game number 2 of the day here at the GSL Up and Downs. To the left, we have Fantasy. To the right, the MVP player. We have, of course, Finale, player that has especially excelled in the GSTL.
And this is one of the reasons why I feel like this group is so close, because when you look at these 2 players, I mean, neither of them are massive heavy hitters, but I think that Finale he's got his special strengths, and Fantasy's on the rise, so it's hard to predict really who is going to come out of this group and who's going to take this particular set. The map, Antigua Shipyard, really fair for this matchup, I feel.
You know, the thing is, in Brood War, Fantasy was known for his excellent micro. This is what he showed us in the games that he played in the GSL. He lost the best of 3 against Roro in Code A, and especially in a few of these maps, he made a lot of macro mistakes. But this was, in my opinion, just a day off for him, where he was not in his best shape. I feel there were some really big mistakes, not getting supply block because bailing kill your supply depots, not building additional supply depots for like another 2 or 3 minutes even after the fighting is over. So just a few things that were off at this point in time. But he is back and he's back in the Vengeance. He's doing good in Pro League. He's here in the up and downs. And this is a different Fantasy that we are seeing now. He's up against Finale. Game 2 of the GSL up and down Group E is about to start. Rhodos versus Terran and Tiga Shipguard. Fantasy versus Finale.
Now.